Good evening, boys. Happy Wednesday evening. It's me, Sister Johnellen, and tonight we're going to have the story of Gabby. Gabby's a furry. Have you ever seen a furry? Well, I hadn't either, but now I know there's a Gabby. Anyway, okay, here we go. Ready? Are you all comfortable? You have your pillow there? Squidgy in there. Get your blanket. Okay, here we go. Like a warm woolen blanket, nighttime wrapped itself about the trees in the forest of your mind. As the morning sun raised its sleepy head over the mountains and surrounding meadows, the blanket got thinner and thinner, and the animals of night slipped from your sight and quietly went off to bed. Empty. The creatures of light and sight began browsing in the meadows, searching for food. Their mouths opened in early morning yawns. All the creatures, that is, except little bundles of fuzzy fur called furry eyefuls. The furries still slept in small little groups in the gnarls and roots of the trees. Boys, I don't know if you can see them. They're very cute. Do you see them? Look at those furries. They're sleeping. They're cute with that little fawn behind them. The shafts of morning light crept across the stumps and bumps and slowly warmed the furry eyefuls to a new and exciting day. They stretched and yawned and quietly began to file down to the pond at the edge of the forest, looking for beautiful things. They're just so cute. I want you to see them. Quietly, that is, except for one little brown-eyed furry called Gabby. From the moment she woke, Gabby noisily began to tell everyone around her about her dreams from the night before. You see, I fell asleep and then I started to dream in dreams, she chattered. See, the rest have blue eyes. Gabby has brown eyes. And she's talking to all of them. The other furries gently tried to ignore her as she babbled on and on. I must have fallen asleep really quickly, right after dark. It seemed like I hadn't slept at all when I started dreaming, and it wasn't one of your normal dreams, but a real special dream like I always have. Shh, the other furries whispered. She looked around in total amazement and asked, Why? You mean you don't want to hear about my dreams? No, said one of the furries as he took her off to the side of the trail. We're going to the pond at the edge of the forest. It's here that we wish to see the great swans of dawn before they lift their wings and fly away into the morning sky. Oh, she murmured as they continued down the trail. I knew it was something important, or you would have wanted to hear about my beautiful dreams. Boy, was it a beautiful dream. Shh, the other whispered in unison. They walked on just a little farther until they came to the pond at the edge of the forest. There, in the morning mist that danced upon the water, they waited. Each furry eyeful hid behind clumps of cattails and water lilies, their eyes open in wide-eyed wonder. Little Gabby was quiet for only a moment or two in the morning hush. Then she said, While we're waiting, does anyone want to hear what happened to me yesterday? Boy, it was just as strange as you could believe. I was walking. Shh, the rest of the furries whispered. Moments later, sailing regally like two magnificent ships, the swans of dawn began to swim into view. Their feathers were ivory-colored beige, and their arched necks bobbed gently as they slipped across the lapping waters of the pond. Boys, aren't they beautiful? God created such beautiful things. Just as the swans were close enough to view in all their splendor, Gabby stood and said in wonder, Boy, you guys were right. They are pretty. I saw something almost as pretty last night when I was walking near the mountains at sunset. The swans, startled by a noise in their stillness of morning, reached out their wings and, grabbing a bit of the morning mist, lifted high into the sky. Therefore, left only with rings of water where the swans were before, and one lonely feather floating in the pond, the furry eyefuls stood and glared at a mortified Gabby. See, one of them shouted, you little noisemaker. When will you ever learn that there is a time for talk and a time for silence? With that, they all stalked away, leaving Gabby standing alone at the edge of the pond. They're pretty upset with her. Thereafter, Whenever Gabby tried to talk to any of her fellow creatures, they would either walk away or pretend that they had heard nothing more than the rustling of the wind. No matter what she said, they would look right through her and walk on by. She became so desperate for someone to talk to that she began to talk to the trees. I can identify with this. She would talk on and on and on, but the trees didn't seem to listen, and they never talked back. Poor Gabby. She talked to the flowers and to the sky, but they didn't listen either. Finally, in desperation, she sat on a rock beside the still waters of a stream and sadly looked down at her own reflection. Then she began to talk to herself of all the beauty that she had seen. She talked and talked, but when she finished, even her own reflection wouldn't talk back to her. "What's the use of talking if there is no one to listen?" she sobbed. Large crystal tears dripped down her cheeks and plopped in the water. With each drop, her reflection in the pond was pushed farther and farther away until it seemed that even her own shadow had deserted her. Poor little Gabby. Her sobs were interrupted by a soft, slithering noise behind her. She turned quickly to see what it was. There, wrapped around the stem of a wild red rose, was the most beautiful snake she had ever seen. "I sense that there is something there," said the snake in a soft, whispery hiss. "Won't you speak so that I might know where you are?" Gabby wiped the last tear from her eye and looked closely at the beautiful snake. "Why, you are blind," she said, swallowing her last tiny sob. "Yes," said the snake as he tested the air with his flickering tongue. "My name is Cartouche, and I can just barely taste your tears. Why have you been crying?" For the first time in her life, Gabby wasn't eager to tell her story, but in a slow, halting voice, she told the snake what had happened to her. When she finished, Cartouche paused a moment to savor the rich smell of the rose. "Little one, there are times that tellings of tales should fill the air in order to share that which has been. But like a well that must have time to fill with water, you must learn to listen and to see. Later there will come a time to dip from your well so that all can know what you know. Now, my little furry friend, your well is full and mine is empty from being blind, so tell me all that you have seen." Gabby slowly started from the beginning and told the snake all of her tales, her wishes, and her dreams. When she had finished, Cartouche paused, gently tasting the moment, and then said, "Now, Gabby, your well is empty. Go and drink deeply from all that you see. When you are filled, you can come tell me." With a happy heart, Gabby quietly set out to see all that she could see. Thereafter, Gabby saw everything that she could see and listened to all that she could hear. Then she would rush back to tell Cartouche of the world around her. And sometimes, when the time was right, perhaps when watching the flickering firelight with the other furry eyefuls, Gabby would tell a story and then be quiet. So, boys, we see what we must see. Bright dawn, the sunlights glisten. But sometimes, like Gabby, we must also learn to listen. Isn't that a great moral? Okay, boys, we must also learn to listen. So when our parents talk to us, or when our brothers and sisters talk to us, or our friends talk to us, we have to be able to listen and then tell our stories after, okay? I love you. I'm sending you a big air hug. Do you feel it? Good night, loves. God bless you.